We have with us Mr. James Corner from New York City. He's based on many continents and have created impressive projects all over the world. But at least one project in particular, of course, is in our interest today. That is the continuation of the High Line in New York. The first part of this refurbished old railway has been transformed into one of New York City's most popular parks. Good day, I say to you, James Corner. Do we have you with us on link? Look, here we go. Hi. How are you?
I hope you can hear me and see me. Is that good?
I certainly can, and we appreciate that. It's quite essential.
Thank you.
Now, please, we'd like to hear your presentation on the theme, Transformations, Effects Beyond Appearances. Thank you.
Okay. There we go. So look, many thanks for this kind invitation. It's a great honor to be included amongst many distinguished speakers and guests. And of course, it's very exciting to be part of an awards program where so many will receive prizes and recognition for their work. Scandinavia in general, of course, has been a great source of design creativity for many. And Sweden in particular has a great tradition of valuing design, innovation, placemaking, and sensitivity to both the environment and to community. In the past, I've lectured and taught at KTH many years ago now, but I do have very fond recollections of Stockholm, a beautiful city of stone, water, islands, parks and gardens, a city that is open and vibrant and very beautiful. So it's a great pleasure for me to speak to you briefly and share a few thoughts with you in the context of awards. I will start by describing my own experience on various jury panels over the years, evaluating projects and determining which to award. And of course, a lot of it depends on the makeup of the jury. Many bring a predisposition to experimentation, others to tradition and context. Some look for environmental value, others for more artistic acumen. And there's always the allure of appearances, the way a project looks, the way it can be photographed and possess a clearly iconic or distinctive material identity. Appearances are fundamental to good design and are important for lending identity, distinction, and value. But beyond appearances, there must be more. Project must do its work, fulfill its program, function, and requirements. And beyond this, projects most worthy of awards and attention, at least I believe, are those that go beyond all of this, that are actually transformative in their effects. That is to say, a project that exerts influence and force and positive change on its context, its local economy, its ecology, and its community. Another important facet for me in these transformations occurs in the public realm, enhancing public space, amenity, experience, and value for everybody. The space of civic democracy, the space of community. In other words, investing in high-quality design of the public realm, not simply to improve appearances per se, but also to advance real transformation. And these might include some of the more challenging issues of our time: social equity and inclusion, climate and resiliency, and so on. Now, in this regard, the High Line is perhaps an excellent example of a public realm investment and inventive design that transformed an entire section of the city. It may have done this indirectly, not always intentionally or wittingly, but it has led to significant changes in the surrounding neighborhood, not only new buildings, arts and culture programs, but also enriched biodiversity and urban ecology. And of course, it is transformative. This photograph was taken of the West Side in around about the late 1990s. You still see the World Trade Towers there. And you can see just how abandoned and derelict this area was. It was once a working rail line, of course, and when the train stopped, it naturalized into a beautiful meadow in the sky, but it was secret. Nobody knew it was there. Nobody could see it. And of course, through careful design and deliberation, we were able to create a new pathway for people, but to do it in a way that retained the magic, if you will, or the character of the original High Line, the original rail bed landscape with its tracks, its stone ballast, and its wild planting character. The planting is extraordinary in terms of bringing nature into the city throughout all seasons, summer, winter, fall, and spring. And it's, of course, a great place for experience. People love it because they get views and vistas of the city, but it's also a place of just extraordinary experiences and surprises and encounters. It's also a place for viewing, both watching and yourself too being seen. There's a number of frames or theatrical settings that sort of dramatize the people on the High Line as well as the life of the city and the streets below. And it's become an enormously successful community thread, if you will, with a wonderful sequence of programs, events, markets, foods and festivals and arts and culture. It's a place for people. It's a place for nature. And it's also been an enormous success in terms of economic development and transformation of the surrounding neighborhood. This is the newly located Whitney Art Museum, designed by Renzo Piano. And here you see a variety of new buildings, mostly residential, but also some commercial and institutional spaces. New buildings mixed with older, more original buildings. A second project, just very quickly, is the Domino Waterfront. And you can see here what it was like 10 years ago. The neighborhood completely cut off from the river, a very industrial and derelict and contaminated site. We designed it such that all of the buildings would be set back over 200 meters from the waterfront in order to create a generous new public park that tied back to the streets of the neighborhood. The new buildings will be big and significant, but the park is intended to be designed to be welcoming, democratic, and open for everybody. We retained many of the industrial objects and repurposed them, creating a new catwalk and a variety of new features that really expose people to the river, to the views, to one another, and bringing a great diversity of sometimes more disadvantaged communities that don't live so near, but they're welcome and they're made to feel welcome and to enjoy the various experiences along the riverfront here. And it works at nighttime as well as throughout the year and for great events. A third project, just quickly, but again because of its transformative impact, is the Seattle waterfront. If you see this elevated highway viaduct, it has now come down, and they're completely transforming the waterfront into a new green street with a significant waterfront promenade and a variety of new spaces along. And also, because of elevational changes from the city to the waterfront, some pretty significant new investments in parks and connectors to connect the city to the waterfront, and also to build some new buildings that have institutional appeal along the waterfront. The piers are all retrofitted with great views back to the city, a variety of programs and uses, a new waterfront with newly restored beaches and habitat. And this is one thing I want to just point out, because this is truly design without appearance. If you look on the left, you can see what's called a seawall. It's a protective wall to protect the earth from earthquake damage. And historically, that wall has been subject to significant damage. And as part of this project, we had to restore the wall. But in so doing, we wanted to recreate and restore a salmon corridor. This is a significant corridor for salmon to migrate along the waterfront and to migrate from south to north. And we wanted to create a seawall that would actually promote that kind of activity. Sectionally, we built a new little habitat bench. We have a cantilevered walk above with glass block that allows light down into the seawall channel. And we designed the seawall as a textural surface in order to encourage algae and the kinds of things that grow along the tidal wall. And this was it being installed a year or so ago. And this was it pretty close to installation. You can see the new beach, the wall, the glass block above. And this was it within a few months later. The algae and the rockfish had taken root. And this is significantly transformational in terms of the aquatic ecology of Seattle's waterfront. And yet you will never see it unless you're in a kayak on the water. You might get glimpses of it. But it was a significant design investment and expense, but all for baby salmon. So I think this is an interesting example of design which you don't necessarily see, but it has transformative effects. And just finally, in the context of awards, we have just been fortunate to win a competition for a project in London, Camden, London. It's called the Camden High Line. It's actually a strip of green that runs along a working railroad. And Camden, of course, is an extraordinary place. It's a very eclectic community with street life, a lot of music. It's very different from New York, and our approach to this project has to be very different. The structure itself is very different. The streets are different. The scale of the buildings are different. The nature of the communities and the brief of the program is different. This is a portion of it today. And another photograph of walking along across one of the bridges. And our intention is to bring a real palpable sense of nature here that will offer the community a variety of experiences and delights that they presently don't have. It will also be a significant biodiversity green infrastructure thread connecting Camden to King's Cross. So there's a mobility aspect to this as well as a biodiversity aspect. And we want to try and design something that at the end of the day doesn't look designed, but it's actually in a strange way wild, with the street life having a certain authentic characteristic at the street level, and then the upper level having something more extraordinary in terms of gardens, train watching experiences, views and vistas out to the city, and creating an investment that will be transformative for North London, if not London more broadly. So a lot of these have to do with amalgamating urbanism and design with nature, community, and spectacle, a profound sense of design that can be more than appearance, but also point to larger transformations, investments, experiences, audiences, and cultures. This is my final image. It's the Oscar. I raise a glass to all of you. Congratulations to all of the award winners here today. The work these awards recognize go beyond appearances, and the awards themselves will mark a transformation in your own career and development. that will also go beyond appearances. So towards ever deeper forms of practice, design, and creativity. So my sincere congratulations to you all, and thank you for hosting me for this short talk.
Of course. Thank you, James Corner. It's incredible. But since this afternoon is centered around projects and prizes, of course, we want to ask more about Camden. You were saying the Camden Own High Line, right? And that is one of your most recent projects you have received awards for. And I have to ask you, how would you describe the kind of recipe of winning? What is crucial to that?
It's a little bit like sport. You win some and it feels great, and you also lose some and it feels painful. So whenever there's a competition for a project, you need to be sure you want to do it. And if you decide to commit, you have to play to win. It's a big effort. It's a big commitment. You need to pay very close attention to the site and to the issues, and to try to be smart or intelligent in your response, but also take risks and try something out. People that launch competitions are looking for something different, a fresh approach. So you need to try to think out of the box too.
And you do take risks, I may say that. Thank you very much, James Corner. That was incredible. Also like how you talk about local aspects, how you actually involve that in the project very nicely.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Have a nice day in New York City. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thanks.